Maab, well, my Mefeskadus, I had a wamlak, I mean. Bessa Maab, well, Mefeskadus, I had a wamlak, I mean. Bessa Maab, well, Mefeskadus, I had a wamlak, I mean. Malcolm Adil, good morning. And yeah, give thanks to God for the opportunity of this day. And on with the reading, Genesis 34. And Dinah, daughter of Leah, whom she was born to Jacob, goes out to look on the daughters of the land. And Sechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, a prince of the land, sees her and takes her and lies with her and humbles her. And his soul cleaves to Dinah, daughter of Jacob, and he loves the young person and speaks to the heart of the young person. And Sechem speaks to his father Hamor, saying, "Take for me this girl for a wife." And Jacob has heard that he has defied his daughter Dinah, and his sons were with his livestock in the field. And Jacob kept silent until their coming. And Hamor, father of Sechem, goes out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob come in from the field when they heard, and the men grieve themselves. And it is very displeasing to them, for folly he has done against Israel, to lie with the daughter of Jacob. So it is not done. Excuse me. And Hamor speaks with them, saying, "Sechem, my son, his soul has cleaved to your daughter. Please give her to him for a wife, and join in marriage with us, and give your daughters to us, and you take our daughters for yourselves, and you dwell with us, and the land is before you. Dwell and trade in it, and have possessions in it." And Sechem says to her father and to her brothers, "Let me find grace in your eyes, and that which you say to me I give. Multiply on my dowry, and gift accordingly, and I give as you say to me, and give to me the young person for a wife." And the sons of Jacob answer Sechem and his father Hamor deceitfully, and they speak because he has defiled their sister Dinah, and say to him, "We are not able to do this thing, to give our sister to one who has a foreskin, for it is a reproach to us. Only for this we consent to you. If you are as we, and to have every male of your circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, and we take your daughters for ourselves, and we have dwelt with you, and we have become one person. And if you do not listen to us to be circumcised, then we have taken our daughter and have gone. And our words are good in the eyes of Hamor, and in the eyes of Sechem, Hamor's son. And the young men did not delay to do the thing, for he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he is honourable above all the house of his father. And Hamor comes, his son Sechem also, to the gate of their city, and they speak to the men of their city, saying, "These men are peaceable with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it, and land, behold, it is wide before them. Their daughters let us take ourselves for wives, and our daughters give to them. Only for this do the men consent to us, to dwell with us, and to become one people in every male of us, if every male of us becomes circumcised, as they are circumcised. Their livestock and their substance and all their beasts are they not ours? Only let us consent to them, and they dwell with us." And to Hamor and to his son Sechem do all the going out of the gate of this city listen, and every male is circumcised, all those going out of the gate of this city. And it comes to pass on the third day, in their being pained, that after the circumcision, that the two sons of Jacob and Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, take each his sword and come in against the city confidently, and they slay every male. And Hamor and his son Sechem they have slain by their mouth of the sword, and they take Dinah out of Shechem's house, and they go out. Jacob's sons have come in on the wounded, and they spoil the city, because they have defiled their sister. Their flock and their herd and their donkeys, and that which is in their city, and that which is in the field, have they taken, and all their wealth, and all their infants and their wives they have taken captive, and they spoil also all that is in the house. And Jacob says to Simeon and to Levi, you have troubled me by causing me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanite, and among the Perizzite. I am few in number, and they have been gathered against me, and have struck me, and I have been destroyed, I and my house. And they say, does it make our sister as a harlot? For these few words, give thanks. Just got to take a sip of drink. Give thanks. Yeah, so another kind of shocking chapter after yesterday's chapter, which was quite gentle, over the reconciliation of Jacob and Esau. Here we see something very different. We see Jacob's Jacob's daughter, Dinah. Basically, she's raped by Shechem from a neighboring village, and then Shechem then becomes obsessed with her and wants to marry her, and then Shechem asks his father Hamor if he can have Dinah as a wife, and then they go to Jacob, and then Levi and Simeon, Dinah's brothers, and ask if they can be married. And knowing what Shechem has done to Dinah, and they're obviously really upset and angry, they say to Shechem and Hamor, only if every male in your village, your town, gets circumcised, then we will give Dinah to you to be married, and we will mix with you as a people. But obviously that was it was another kind of deceit. And after all the men in the village are circumcised and they're in pain, that's when then Levi and Simeon take their revenge, and they basically kill every male in that town, in that village, and they take everything for themselves, and basically ramshackle the whole of Shechem and Hamor's people as a revenge for Shechem raping Dinah. And then towards the end, Jacob says, you know, what have you done? That was excessive in terms of your revenge, and you're going to cause more grievance between us as a people. And Simeon and Levi say, you know, well, this is our this is our sister Dinah, and she's not a harlot, she's not a prostitute. You know, would you rather have her being treated like a prostitute? And it ends there. So it's a extremely kind of violent chapter for many reasons, on many levels. You know, and it's interesting here, it doesn't really speak about God at all in the whole chapter. So God isn't behind it, he's not condoning any of it, he's not pulling any of the strings. This is purely down to kind of human will and human agency and notions of revenge, notions of family loyalty. We saw in the previous chapter family loyalty between Jacob and Esau, the brothers, and how they were reconciled. And in this chapter, we're seeing a very different form of family loyalty and sense of responsibility. But then we've also got the flip side of that is revenge, you know, paying for consequences, but also is revenge just, and those kind of questions. And I think it's written very kind of carefully to not make any moral judgment. So it feels like one of these chapters where, because when we don't have God's judgment or view on it, it very much is left up to us as the reader to, in a way, to grapple with our own sense of moral justice, our own sense of right or wrong, and was this a fitting revenge against Simeon and Levi? I think the closest we get to that is with Jacob and Jacob's response, because he was obviously upset, and it says earlier in the chapter that he remained silent when he first heard what happened to his daughter. But then he left it up to Simeon and Levi to take it into their hands, kind of trusting their judgment. But Jacob throughout this sounds quite balanced in a way. He's upset, but he questions the approach of Simeon and Levi. He's a father of Dinah. He's also a leader of people. So he's also concerned, is this going to cause more war between us and the Canaanites when we're living in their land? So in a way, Jacob becomes the moral arbiter of, was this right? I know why you did it, but was it excessive? And yeah, through Jacob, it seems to be he's trying to find some sense of balance. And I think it's extremely difficult, when we find these situations in our lives, and then particularly when someone is acting on our behalf out of sense of loyalty. We don't always get a say in how that enactment's been done in our name. And there's lots of things you can say has been done in our name, whether it's through family, whether it's through politicians, through brothers and sisters in the faith, and other people that we might identify with on some levels, but then might kind of go, oh, hang on a minute, on another level. So it's extremely complex, and you can only kind of judge those things day by day. So yeah, really interesting chapter, but I think particularly I can already see in chapter 35, the next one, the first line is, and God says to Jacob. And God is at the very beginning of this chapter. But as far as I can think, maybe this is the first chapter in the Bible so far, chapter 34, where God's not mentioned. I can't think of any other chapters that we've read so far where God's not mentioned, but I may be wrong there. But it feels a very particular absence in this chapter, and it's literally left to human will. And then we see what happens when humans are just left to their own devices without God as a guide. Maybe that's one of the messages of the chapter. So yeah, lots to think about. But I'm glad it wasn't a case of, yes, marry Dinah into that family to save the honor of the family. They were absolutely resolute that rape is a bad thing, that is a disgusting thing, and it needs to be punished. And that is, again, a very strong message in that chapter. And I'm glad that is a message, regardless of the nuance then of how the retribution was kind of played out. Rape is wrong was very clear. So that protection of women in there, I'm very pleased to see. So, blessed love, give thanks, lots to think about. Glory to God, and God willing, back here again tomorrow on the Sabbath for the next reading. Blessed love, yet a breath for cure.